In this episode of It Came From My Side of the Laundry Room. Get ready to roll verse dork. Hello and welcome to It Came From My Side of the Laundry Room. And in this episode, I'm going to cheat yet again and give you a collection of reviews. I'm sorry, but due to time constraint and an illness, this is the best I can do right now. So I hope you enjoy it. But this time around, we're going to take a look at the first 3 segments I did of Saving Throws. Now, to give some clarification on the name, of course, a saving throw is something that happens in role-playing games when you gotta save versus death, or save versus falling, or save versus being put to sleep. A lot of different things. But why I chose this as the name of this segment is I'm saving these retro games from obscurity. Some of these games people don't talk about anymore. Some of them are just old books in popular franchises that a lot of people don't even see anymore. So this was just my attempt at a name that kind of encompassed all of those things. So without further ado, here is the first segment I ever did of Saving Throws. I said we're also going to take a look at one of the oldest gaming books I have in my collection. It's a little beat up, it's a little worn, and it has a lot of memories for me. But D&D Player's Handbook. Now, before we jump into this book, as you can see, came from the local library. They had to refix the spine, which is probably half my fault from reading the sucker so much growing up. And I eventually saw it for sale in one of their book days, or whatever they would call them, where they would have a lot of their old stock on sale. And I just had to buy it because I have so many fond memories of this book. So let's take a look at it, shall we? In a segment I like to call The Player's Handbook. Ooh, as you can see, a lot of damage. I think that was from my buddy who left it outside one weekend and then returned it to the library. So I'm sure they tried what they could to keep it alive. Look at this, 1978. See if I can get both pages here. Kinda, sorta. But this is kinda where it all started. It definitely started for me. Look at this picture. I guess they're saying he ain't a very smart wizard, but here's a very smart wizard because they're going over the intelligence table here. Ooh, they have a dexterity failure. But I just love the art in these old books. It's not the best, but it just has such a feeling to it. Even though it's not the best art, it has a lot of emotion for me behind it. And again, I apologize for how blurry this is. Oh, look. Rogue jacking somebody up there. Let's see here. We got base chances to move silently, hide in shadows. Ooh, fees for assassination. Get the level of assassin and the level of the victim, and then you get a price in there. Ooh, damn. You get a 15th level assassin with a 16th plus level target 250,000 gold pieces. Damn. More monks. Here you got weapons damage, got different items. Ooh, magic. You know, I have to admit, in all my years playing D&D, I've never once played a wizard, or a mage, or a cleric. I think I've always been the kick in the door kind of player. I don't want to think or work on spells or have to worry about that shit. I just always want to just grab my sword and go to work. Or dagger or axe or whatever melee weapon I happen to be holding at the time. Here's some more of that incredible art. Lower water. Neutralize poison. Tongues. Ooh, allows a cleric to speak the language of any creature inside the spell area. That'd come in handy. A lot of cool spells. Which, like I said, have never tried any. Look at this dude. That almost looks like art that could have been on an arcade cabinet back in the day. With some cool game. Always liked this picture. Always liked the imp familiar. Again, I apologize for blurriness. Like I said, trying something new here. Hope to refine it next time I do this. So many memories. All these stains in here. I don't know if you can see them. I probably did them. Probably eating spaghetti at the dinner table while I was reading it. And this was all before I actually started playing the game. I just would read the book. Never thought I'd ever run into anyone else that'd want to play it. My buddy and I would take turns borrowing this from the library. But never once did it dawn on us to actually play it. If anything, you could say we LARPed, live action role playing, and pretended to be these people running around the woods and hitting trees with sticks and shit. But it wasn't until I got to high school that I actually started playing D&D, and by then, 2nd edition was out. So, that was just a little tour of, whoa, sorry for the camera, The Player's Handbook from 1978. Love this iconic artwork on the cover. I've seen it reproduced over the years, but there's something so beautiful about how archaic this original art is. Nowadays, it's all glossy and flashy, and everybody has a ton of detail, but this to me is the pure essence of D&D. Now, as I said, this is a role-playing game book that changed my life. And I'm not saying it was so profound that it had the answers of life within the pages. No, I'm just saying it opened up a new world to me, and I made a lot of friends with this role-playing game book. The book, or books in this question, originally came in a box set. And they're the Marvel Superhero Role-Playing Game book. Originally published in the 80s. Let me see if I can find the year here. 1986. Of course, I got it just because it was comic books. But, yet again, never read it. But
one of the things I loved about it, just like how I liked the Marvel Universe comic books, were all the dossiers about the characters. Now, this is a great little slice of Marvel comic history from the 80s. Unfortunately, they don't have that much of background, but it's about their powers and their stats, which I could look at, and it kind of put things in a tangible manner. Like, oh, Rogue, she always was super strong, and she's got a strength of amazing. So you go over to She-Hulk, well, she's got a strength of monstrous. And what that means is monstrous is much higher than amazing. And that's how the game was so fluid that when I was first introduced to playing it, I was blown away to how fluid it was, and you could almost do anything with this system. It was one of the first systems, kind of like Palladium ended up being with me, that was very fluid, that you could do a Western game, a horror game, a medieval game. You could use superpowers, you didn't need to use superpowers. Which this whole book, the player's book, is chock full of skills and powers and weapons and vehicles and all that great stuff. Here's the chart, by the way. It only used percentile dice. You use 2d10s. And you got your score, and then you got your roll, and then you find what color was your feat or your knowledge or your use of something. And of course green all the way up to red, which was infallible, we'll say. Of course white, you didn't really do much with that. But like I said, it was so fluid. And the art in this, such a great throwback. Look, there's Iceman, old Bobby Drake. Let's see who else is in here. Ooh, little fastball special. Gotta love that. But it featured art from the whole Marvel bullpen. Oh man, this takes me back. I haven't played it in a long time, but it's a system that when I last played, we were still using, and it was 20 years old. But it's almost perfect. Now this, the judge's book, this is where all the characters are, different places. We had pictures here on the side, and then their stats and their power write-ups. Let's look at the Hawk. Strength, unearthly. And you get to Iron Man, his strength, incredible. Incredible is only a score of 40, but unearthly is 100. Then you got different monsters and animals and races. And here's what the character sheet looked like. As basic as you can get. Now another neat thing that the box set came with was because you were allowed to play mainline Marvel characters. So they had these cool cards with the stats on the back. Just a quick little cheat sheet for them. And you could use a map with it for movement and stuff, and they had these cool standees. Now at one time I had a whole book of all the Marvel Universe at that time in standee form. Unfortunately I was an idiot and cut them all out and ended up losing them over time. Look at this here, they got some blank ones that you can draw your own characters. Awesome. Look, even a Nihilus. But of course, Me at that time, all I cared about was Wolverine and Nightcrawler. But look, this is the old red suit Colossus, the X Factor beast before he, or when he got returned back into human form. Look, Cloak and Dagger, members of Alpha Flight, Hawkeye, still in his awesome outfit. Look at this, a little pup. How can you not love that? But like I said, it was a game that we played for 20 years plus after it originally came out, and I met a lot of great people playing it, and some of them are still friends today. So that's why I said that the book impacted my life, and it was one of the most important role-playing game books for me. Even more so than D&D. We would bust these out and just play all afternoon with some crazy fun stories.
I hope you enjoyed those first 2 segments of Saving Throws. Now here's a commercial break.
Challenge your imagination to come alive and to battle with the creatures of Dungeons and Dragons. Grapple against the forces of evil as a Marvel Comics superhero. Hunt adventure and glory as Indiana Jones. The all-new role-playing games of TSR and Dungeons and Dragons. Unleash the power of your imagination.
Back in 1997, a company called Gold Rush Games made the Saga Ajooba role-playing game. Now, if you know me and some of my first attempts at it came from focused on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles role-playing games. So for me, this was a no-brainer. I love Usagi Yojimbo, and I love the comic book. Now, this was worked with Stan Sakai, and it used something called the Fusion system, made by Gold Rush Games. Let's take a look inside real quick, shall we? As you can see, as soon as you crack it open, beautiful artwork from the comic book. And we have all different types of rules. We have horse warfare, and we have these great, which reminds me of like GURPS books back in the day, these great little side notes of different, well, from this, of what comic it came from, and some quotes, to real history things on samurais, how samurais handled relationships. And this game had different classes, of course. We have priests and monks, ronin, peasants, outlaws, ninja. And then we get into skills. As you can see, more of that beautiful artwork from the comic book. Awesome skills. Peasant weapons, like how to use scythes and different pitchforks and things as weapons. Climbing. Here we go, the species. We got bats, bears, bulls, cats, dogs, foxes, moles. The mole ninjas were always awesome in the comic. Here's a picture of one. Pigs. Here's a, oh, I forget his name, but Zato Ino, which is their Zatoichi type character, a blind sword pig. Rabbits, rhinos, serpents. You got different jobs you can do. And then they have characters from the comics section, which is something I always love reading, where you get a nice Reader's Digest version of history of some of the characters. Lone Goat and Kid, always a favorite. And then here's different things about warriors and strategies. One of the great things about this game, too, when it came to sword fighting, oh, and here we go, a big appendix of real-life history and history from the Usagi comic, character indexes. Look at this. Dents of all the different characters that have appeared in the comic. But anyway, the combat, to keep it like a sword fight where you don't know what your opponent's going to do, they had cards. And unfortunately, they've been removed from the book long ago, and I remember photocopying them and attaching them to real playing cards to make them stiff. But you had different actions that you'll block, attack, different strikes and stuff, and you would put the card down and then flip it up. So it would be a very cinematic type of samurai fight because you didn't know what the characters were doing, so you could flip it up and it would be a one-hit kill, or you both were blocking, which made it really fun. A few years after that came out, though, they put out this monster manual. This utilized the same fusion system, but also incorporated D20 rules, which back in, what year did this come out? 2000 was the cat's meow. Me and my friends all played D20 books at that time. So this was a good companion to have for different monsters that you could bring into D&D or D20 Modern or whatever else I was running at the time. But one of the best things, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the Usagi Ajooba comics not only were anthropomorphic animals, but they had anthropomorphic monsters and just typical, Japanese folklore creatures. So we have a lot of different ones in here that appeared in the comic. And appeared in real life folklore, or as I like to think, in real life. The Kappa, one of Japan's most famous creatures. I think almost everyone knows about the Kappa, but which was one of the very first Usagi comics I picked up. I think it was issue, I can't even venture a guess. 8 or 12, I can't even remember. Oni. The Tengu. But unfortunately, I wasn't playing the Usagi game but 3 years later when this came out, because all of my focus went into D20 D&D or D20 Modern or any of the other things. But this was a great book to have on hand, and it was next to all my D&D monster manuals at the time to grab any type of beastie out of. But that's yet another game that has disappeared with the sands of time, that I hope to just get the word out there that these games existed, they were awesome. If you can, track them down, super fun. I can't wait till my kids are older. I hope to expose them to gaming, and I'll actually have a gaming group again in-house where we could just kick back any afternoon and play.
This has been Saving Throws Collection 1. And again, I'm sorry for hitting you with another collection episode right off the bat, but I'm fighting through an illness and I'm just running out of time. So next time there'll be a true episode of It Came From let me get this right. It Came From My Side of the Laundry Room. But until then, if you like what you saw, hit the like. If you want to leave a comment, write something to me. And if you want to see more of these, hit subscribe. And hit the little bell if you want to be notified every time there's a fresh episode. But until then, keep being rad, stay dorky, peace out!